It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Hello, this is Bob Sinee from Ontario, Canada, talking to you on Dart Talk.
Okay, welcome everybody. How are you?
I'm not bad. Hanging in there.
Welcome to Dart Talk, June
26th.
June 26th, 2012. Steve Panciamo with Mystery Mark. Yet another episode of Dart Talk. How was your weekend?
Not too bad. A little work, a little golf.
Little golf?
Nothing too exciting. A little bad golf.
Little bad golf?
Yeah.
I played a lot.
Yeah.
I played like all weekend, and I'm sure we'll be getting to that. Just a reminder, we're brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks to Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. Lot to get to. We have the results. They're
From
a week old.
Canada?
Yeah, we have the results from the Canadian Championships, which we should talk about because I think that they've really got the right idea when it comes to having a national championship.
Okay.
Provincial teams. Don't ask me how many provinces there are in Canada. I messed that up last year,
Yeah.
and I haven't gotten any better.
I wouldn't know either, so I wouldn't ask the question.
But they have, every day they've got, a singles thing, a doubles thing. I think they had 2 or 3 singles championships. They had a doubles championship. They also picked their team for the for the America's Cup. That is going to be occurring, I believe, in Belize. And some familiar names on that list, so we'll get to that. And I promised that we would name the player with the best mental game today.
Okay.
So that's going to take some discussion. And I want to get to some of the stuff that we've been kind of sloughing off on. Some of these emails that, great idea, you should talk about this, talk about that. And, of course,
It never works out that way.
Well, it's not deliberate. It's, I go off on these tangents, and then next thing you know, the hour's over.
Yeah.
And, we put it off.
So we'll just say we're going to try and get to it.
We're going to try to get to that. I don't know. Where do you want to start? You want to start with Canada? Well, a couple of shout-outs. Let's start with the shout-outs. First, I don't know where he is now. I think he's in the top 10. But Gordon Dixon got married over the weekend.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
Congratulations to Gordon Dixon and Tara James Dixon. Now, I'm sure they're honeymooning and probably listening to the show as we speak. Because on a honeymoon, what would you do but listen to Dart Talk, right? I mean, it's got to be the most romantic thing you could possibly.
I'm sure they stopped what they were doing. They're delaying dinner.
Well, no,
to
they
listen to the show.
Prop up the smartphone, get it off, get the feed on your smartphone, and you should be good. Hopefully, you guys can see us better. We monkeyed with the lighting. Thanks to David Iridi for some suggestions. Hopefully, we don't look any worse.
I don't know if they want to see us any better.
Couple of faces for radio, I'll tell you that. So, also a shout-out to Bob Sinee. That's why I had Bob leading off the show there. He was honored in Canada. I guess part of the national championship deal is they also have a banquet. And he was honored as being like one of the major contributors to Canadian darts. And Bob's career goes back decades. And from the post I saw, I think they've only honored about 4 or 5 people for this. So it's a huge,
that's nice.
A huge deal. And I think the world of Bob. He's not only a great player. He's one of the exemplary pros that you'll meet on the circuit. So congrats to Bob and Judy. They had a nice picture. They're holding up their plaques and stuff. It was pretty cool.
All right.
So I was happy to see that. maybe we should start with the tips that we didn't get to last week, because
could
I
do that.
promised everybody.
We'll do some tips.
Yeah, the idea here was we were going to start doing tips every week,
Yeah.
and we were going to tailor them in two ways. We're going to tailor them for people who don't have a lot of time to practice, and then we're going to tailor them based on your level of expertise. I mean, it doesn't do much good for a beginner to do some of the stuff I try to do, because you got to kind of work your way up to that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like all
No, but
highfalutin
it
and
makes
everything,
sense.
but
Yeah.
So,
Throwing at every double when you're a beginner, throwing 3 darts at every double and
right.
for hours just
Yeah.
doesn't make much sense.
So you have, and I called it drills for the time challenged.
Okay.
So, and you've got experience with this, so you can kind of tell me what you
Right.
think as far as like, if it's worthwhile. So the idea here is you're going to throw 21 darts. That's 7 rounds.
Right.
Now, I don't know anybody that doesn't have time to throw 7 rounds of darts a couple of times a day as you're walking, by your dartboard. And I was actually talking to somebody about this. We had our ADO regional on Sunday, and one of the guys that played pretty well, he didn't get through because we only had one person get through, but he was asking, hey, am I on the right track? And I'm like, absolutely, but what you should do, because he's time challenged, he's got newborn twins and whatnot,
Right.
and I got this tip actually from one of the good Chicago shooters, from Kurt Hartman, who said when he's home and he's dealing with the kids and dealing with whatever you do when you're home from work, what he does is when he walks by the board, he'll just grab his darts and he'll throw a few.
Yeah.
And he'll do that 3 or 4 times throughout the course of the evening. After he puts the kids to bed, he'll throw for 5 minutes while he's watching the news or whatever. But don't underestimate the value of having darts in your hand every day, even if it's only for 10 minutes.
Right.
Remember I went off on the Zen thing a couple of shows ago
Yeah.
with the coordinated continuousness, and I got made fun of. But the idea, one of the Zen concepts that always struck me as making a great deal of sense is they have a saying, and I don't know if it's Buddhism or whatever. I don't know quite where it comes from. Somebody can Google it, and their chat room can figure it out. But the idea is that if you do anything for 90 consecutive days, it will change the course of your life.
All right.
That's the philosophical bent behind this. So, I tried to do it with golf when I got out of college. And it's amazing, something that simple, even if you're only going to do 10 minutes a day, the mental commitment it takes to do something with that amount of regularity. It changes the way you think about something.
Do you throw at anything in particular, or
Well,
are you just
well,
gonna,
I do.
I mean, if
sure.
you only had 10 minutes, if you were walking by the board, you're going to throw 21 darts.
Right. If you're a beginner, I would say that the best thing for you to do, and I'm talking about a beginner who's only been, maybe just got their first dartboard
Right.
a couple of months ago, and maybe he's played 1 season of league, something like that. So, generally a beginner's not going to be very consistent. They're not going to be terribly knowledgeable about the game, but the one thing that every beginner needs to learn is hit what you're aiming at. So the easiest thing for a beginner to do is throw at a big target, and so my advice would be throw one at the fat of every number and throw your last dart at the bull. So
Okay.
go fat 1, fat 2, fat 3. Go get your darts.
little around the
fat
world.
4, 5, exactly.
Right.
And keep doing it until you get all the way through. And you think about it, it's not as easy as it
No,
sounds.
it's not.
But it forces you to, it gives you a little carrot on the stick because, okay, do it for 5 minutes. Okay, I got 4. Whatever. Next time you'll do better. If you do it every day for 10 minutes a day, by the end of the month, you're going to be irritated that you missed the 15
Yeah.
after hitting 14 in a row. It's going to build your confidence, and it's going to improve your accuracy. And if you don't have a lot of time and you're a beginner, I'm thinking this is better than throwing at the bullseye for 10
Triple
minutes.
20s.
Right. I would actually say not even throw at the triple 20. I'd
Right.
say throw at the double 20.
Yeah.
I tell a lot of beginners it's like throw at the double 20. It's the furthest away for most people. It's the longest shot you'll
Yeah.
make. And if you can hit that, you can hit anything. I think the bullseye's, for most people easier to hit than tops. So I thought around the world would be good for the beginners.
Right. That makes sense
Right.
to me.
Right. Now, for intermediate players, for people that, have, played enough where they kind of know their way around the dartboard, I would recommend just playing 25 out for, 7 rounds. 25 out, or 50 out is really what you call it. You throw your first dart at the double bull, and then you clean up whatever's left. Right? If your first dart is in the double bull, you have a choice. You can go fat 10 tops, fat 18 tops, fat 14, double 18, whatever, and then you get 2 points if you hit it.
Okay.
Right? So potentially you can get, if you go, nobody's going to throw, 21 consecutive double bulls, but, but that
Especially
way.
not at the intermediate level.
Well, no, because once you start playing competitive darts, you have to be able to hit bulls.
Yeah.
On demand. You have to hit them to diddle. You have to hit them to finish cricket games, and you will need them when you learn to play 5-0. You realize that the bullseye is an incredibly important number.
Right.
It factors into all the big outs. It factors into setting up a lot of finishes. It factors into intermediate scoring. And especially if you're playing doubles with somebody decent, you're going to end up on 25 a lot. So the idea,
So if you miss the first one,
yeah, if you throw a single bull and you're on 25, you got 2 darts to take it out.
to take out 25.
Right.
But what's the point of hitting a double bull on your first dart and then
Well, you got 2 darts in your hand. You got to do something
Might as well
with them.
throw 'em.
Right. Well, you get 2 points because now you took out 50 twice.
Oh, okay. And then if you take it out, you get 1 point. If you hit the single bull,
Exactly.
You get,
Right.
Okay.
And you could go for double bull, but then your third dart's going to be,
Right.
you just throw it at the double bull. But the idea is to be thinking about finishing, and to be, getting really, really consistent on the bull. That's for the intermediate
Okay.
players, right? What do you think of that?
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's another way because you get a score at the end.
Right.
Okay, I got 4 that time. Oh, I got 5 that time. Ooh, I got 7 in a row. I think my personal record's like 11.
And you're practicing taking it out.
You're finishing.
Hitting doubles.
You're always finishing.
Right.
And you're hitting, you're throwing at one of the most important numbers, which is, the bullseye. For the advanced players, I figured just do a doubles count up. If all you have is 10 minutes a day, that will do you more good than anything else. Unless all you're going to do is play cricket, right? And a doubles count up is basically you throw 1 dart at every double, you throw your last dart at the double bull, and you see how many you hit.
Right.
Right? A good score, I would think, would be 10 or above, and an excellent score would be, say, between 14 and up. Or if you hit 14 out of 21, you're 66% on your doubles, and you really ought to play more often.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're that good. But one of the things that I see, especially, we had an ADO shoot, which was all, 501 on Sunday. And, you got people that have been playing for 15, 20 years. And, they don't have any, they can hit, they can score in their sleep. They can hit triples all day long. It's the finishing in the 0-1 that determines, okay, who's been playing, who's sharp, and who's going to win.
Right.
Right? You don't win 0-1 games without hitting doubles, and everybody knows that. So if all you have is 10 minutes a day to practice, I would say just throw them all at the double.
Work on that.
Right? So anyway, for
That makes
this
sense.
week, those are our dart tips for the
Dart tips
time
for the-
challenged.
Yes.
Let me catch my breath. We'll do, okay, Department of Corrections. Let's get
Oh
that
yes,
over with.
might as well get that one out of the way. You got chastised. You got chastised for something, right?
Well, I did because, the love of my life likes the show.
Yeah.
And I think she likes it even though, I do it.
Right.
But she said, well, I got a bone to pick with you, and I want a retraction. And I'm like, well, what did I say? And she said, well, you said that I was all happy that there were going to be 2 mixed doubles.
Which you did
at
say
the
that.
Little River tournament, which is coming up this weekend in Manistee, Michigan, at some new casino that they built. Well, I did.
Right.
Because that's kind of what she told me. And she's like, well, yeah, I told you that, but then I looked at the flyer and I saw there was only 1 women's singles. And she's like, well, I'd much rather play 2 singles and 1 mixed doubles than 2 mixed doubles and 1 singles. And why is it set like that? Why is there only 1 singles that weekend?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. I didn't create the flyer.
Right.
But I'm like, okay. So you want a retraction on the show? And she's like, well, so.
But what are you retracting?
Retracting
she's
the
still
fact.
playing in two doubles.
Well, I'm retracting the statement or the implication I made that she would rather play 2 mixed doubles with me and play 1 singles as opposed to what she would prefer, her stated preference, which is play 2 singles and have 1 mixed doubles. So,
well, yeah, all right.
I misstated it, and let's keep peace in the household.
Yes.
So, Jill, my love, here's your retraction, and we'll go to a break, and we'll run the disclaimer
again.
Which, do I have to make retractions after this disclaimer? I mean,
no,
honestly,
you shouldn't have to.
All right, well.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect the thoughts or opinions of the hosts, our sponsors, any official Dart sanctioning organization, and post hoc ergo propter hoc, any and all spelunkers, debunkers, raconteurs, roustabouts, technocrats, hepcats, cat ladies, Lady Gaga, the Four Seasons, the Three Stooges, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, hipsters, kibitzers, hellions, the fickle finger of fate, or Tom Waits. Any remarks resembling anyone living or dead is purely coincidental and in no way represent Mother Earth, Father Time, Aunt Marilyn, Uncle Fester, all organized religions, independent contractors, official friends of the show, the North America Professional Dart Alliance, the Undead, the Grateful Dead, or Sharon D. Butler.
Sharon's back in the disclaimer, huh?
Yeah, I let the whole thing run this time. We've been chopping it. I did write a new one, and there's typos in it, and I didn't have time to print it up, and then I was going to make you read it and laugh, so because you don't get a rehearsal. So we'll break that in next week. I haven't had a chance to talk to... Oh, next week. By the way, we won't be here next week.
We will not. We're
celebrating our 1-year anniversary with a well-deserved day off.
There you go.
And because it's a holiday and everything, you know, I figured people would have other things to do. And if you need a fix, what I'll do is I will post a link to the YouTube playlist. There's a playlist on YouTube on our Dart Talk US channel that has all our shows archived. So if you're looking for Dart Talk next week, watch one of the shows that maybe you missed, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. So a couple of quick commercials, and we'll be right back.
Char, you already know someone who's been personally affected by a coffee addiction.
Mommy, please put the mug down.
Sometimes I can't even get out of bed unless I visualize that hot cup of coffee. You may already know of coffee's dark past in the seedy underbelly of Cairo and Mecca. But you may not know the staggering numbers of modern-day coffee houses. The highly addictive quality of coffee makes it the perfect gateway drug. It's almost impossible to just have one cup. But there is hope on the horizon. People just like you have created Loka, lovers of coffee addicts. Team up with Loka in the fight against this addictive bean. With your help and donations, Loka can make a difference by giving tools to addicts, empowering them to make good decisions right from the start of the day. This ad has been paid for by Loka, lovers of coffee addicts.
T-bowing, insanity, planking, owling, Coney 2012. Trends spread across our nation as quick as wildfires, but fade even faster. If you or someone you know suffers from following trends, remember that no matter how hard you try to get rid of the evidence, chances are someone has proof. So the next time you think about jumping on a trend, remember how embarrassed you were when you found that video of your mom doing the Macarena. You're gonna have kids someday. Don't let that be you.
I'm Paula Murphy. I'm in Orange Park, Florida, and I'm listening to Dart Talk.
Okay, and we're back for the second quarter. Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
The DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks Redwood Darts and Windy City Fabricators. And where were we? What were we talking about? We were done with
We were done with tips. Your retractions done.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about stats. I want to talk
in
about
what
statistics. Well,
winning percentage, or what?
I want to make a small correction to what I said last week, because here's the deal. I played in the ADO regional final on Sunday, right? And
how'd you do?
I did good. I got through.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And we did some things that I think normally you don't do in ADO regionals. The guys took a vote. Instead of playing, what they normally do is they just play 3 legs, diddle every leg, round robin.
Okay.
Top guy goes. What we did was they wanted a longer format, so we made it best of 5, and then they didn't want to diddle every leg, so we had 1 diddle. So we went best of 5 alternate start, round robin, which increased the number of legs that you played.
How many people?
By 40%. Well, we had 7.
Okay.
So you had to play 6 people. That's 30 legs. And then we said the top 2 would play off best of 5 for the last round.
All right.
So it was pretty tiring. You know, I played good at the beginning, and then I had like the perfect draw, because you know the 2 best players that I was worried about, which was Eason Veljic and Ed DeBenke, Bam Bam. Those were the last 2 guys I played.
Okay.
So
you were warm? You were warmed up?
Well, actually, as it turned out, I wish I'd have played them a little earlier, because I actually started getting tired.
Yeah.
So I guess my stamina's not where it needs to be. I got 6
How long
weeks
did it
to
take?
work on that. I think we started at about 1:30, and we played the final around 6, maybe 5:30, but there was a long delay before the final.
Yeah.
And it had to have been like a half hour and nothing. But everybody stuck around to watch the final. And
who'd you play in the final?
I played Ed DeBenke in the final. I got by him 3-1. Well played, Eddie. Well played, everybody, actually. Everybody played, pretty good. We had one guy, actually, who hasn't been playing that long, but's been coming out, because we've been running local qualifiers every Wednesday night. And, he's been coming out, and he's competing. He's only been playing for like a year and a half, and he usually plays in the rec league and stuff, but he really got into the competitive. He's a competitive guy. And, he really got into it. And, I was talking to him. He had a great time. He got to play, for real darts, because I don't think he's ever played in a tournament before, like a real tournament. And, played with, high caliber players, because we had quite a few of them. And, he thought it was great, but he didn't win that many legs, and I told him, I said, look, you may not have won very many legs, but the one leg that you won against this one guy cost him the final. So don't sell yourself short, Yeah, you missed some doubles and stuff like that, but, he was competitive, and, I was happy for him. But after the final, one of the guys that was watching had his smartphone and showed me his smartphone, and it spit out the statistics for the final.
Really?
Yeah, so I averaged like 83 point whatever, which is just under 18 darts.
Yeah.
And it didn't give me credit for my ton 71, but
no.
Well, no, it was lumped in with the ton 40. So I think I had like 5 tons and 4 ton 40 pluses in 4 legs, which my calculations back when the PDC first started doing stats was you have to average better than 2 scoring rounds a leg. Like the PDC would track tons and ton 40s and ton 80s, right? So if you didn't average more than 2 a leg, you almost always lost.
More than 2?
More than 2. Like 2 point whatever.
Yeah.
Because I would count. I'd count how many tons and how many ton 40s and how many ton 80s these guys would have, and then count the number of legs they played, which sometimes was a pain because they were playing sets. You had to count all the legs.
Right.
And everybody who won averaged over 2. Now, this was like 5 years ago. Now I think guys are averaging 3.
Wow.
But it was pretty cool. It averaged, my scoring average, the first 9 darts was like 95.4 or 95.04 or 93, something like that. So it's in the middle 90s, which isn't bad. Should have been better, but, what are you going to do? You miss. But I really got a kick out of watching him, and I had no idea that he was tracking them. So
how was he doing it? He was just
he
watching
had his
everything?
smartphone plugging in the scores.
Just punching them in?
Yeah. Yeah, so he was kind of like chalking the match on his phone, right? Even though we actually had a chalker.
Right.
And it was nice getting that kind of feedback after the match. So I know I forgot the guy's name. They have a thing in New York, one of their singles leagues, where they keep statistics on everything. And I might have kind of poo-pooed it last week because, statistics are like a bikini, what you really need
I remember that.
Yeah, well, because you need a doubles percentage, to kind of get a gauge of how you scored. Well, I was there. I know what doubles I missed. I missed 3 clear at 40 in one leg and la-di-da-di-da. Although in the very last leg, I took out 381 in 9 darts.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was... I'm like, okay, that's a pretty good leg.
So are you saying now you're a proponent of stats?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
They're somewhat useful.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about useful, but it's nice to see at the end of a leg and get a number because you never get that in steel.
Right.
You get a sense that you played well. You remember what you hit that was like really helpful, and I remember everything I missed. But it's helpful to see that. Like right after, I got a kick out of it. Now, the guy I played didn't want to see it at all, right? Because he knew that the numbers were nowhere near what he was capable of or what he wanted to throw, and that's the kind of trap. Like, Jill's going to be playing in the singles league where apparently they're keeping statistics. She's like, well, what if you miss 3 at a double? And I'm like, well, what you do is, if you're on 40, just write another 40 down, and then you just count the lines and you know how many darts you threw, right? I mean, it's pretty simple to do, but I don't see why you want to give stats to people if the stats are going to be so discouraging that they're not going to want to play.
It's used as a tiebreaker.
As a tiebreaker for what?
When the singles league that I played in, that they did it they just counted points per dart is what it came down to.
Right.
And then at the end, when the each division, the 3 people that move on from the division to go play for the final 2, it was a round robin format, and the person, if 2 people tied for round robin to move on, the tiebreaker was the person who had the better darts points per dart.
Okay, well, I don't like that. So I don't like a statistical.
That's what it's for.
Well, I don't see why you would go through all that effort on the off chance that you would have a tiebreaker as opposed to play one more leg.
Right.
Howard.
I guess it's round robin, and so I don't know. Then you play each other.
Okay, well, the American Diddle Organization had some weird tiebreakers, but they changed them. What they used to do is, like, if you were in a 501 round robin and you were tied with 3 people, you would diddle to see who went first, second, and third, and you would all play one leg of 5-0 at the same time, which puts whoever loses the diddle at a huge disadvantage. He's got to break 2 guys' throws instead of 1. And I think they did the same thing with cricket, where it was like clean cricket, first one to finish wins, huge advantage going first, huge disadvantage going last. And again, too much emphasis on the diddle, but to their credit, they changed that. And now you play a 1-leg round robin with everybody. So if you're tied with 3 people, you're going to play 1 leg against 2 guys.
Right.
Whoever wins 2 legs wins. If you all kind of evenly split, you do it again. That, to me, makes more sense. Did you hear about Allyson Felix and this other girl in the Olympic trials?
No.
Because I know I think Stacey Bromberg put this up for discussion on her webpage or on her Facebook page. There's 3 spots in the women's 100 meter in the Olympics, right? And they finished in a dead heat for 3rd. Originally, they called it for one person. Then you kind of hate to see
replay,
this.
Whatever.
Well, they looked at it's like horse racing. They looked at the photo,
right?
Called it a dead heat. Well, now what are you going to do? They're training partners and they're preparing to run the 200, and either the way the Olympic organizing committee is doing it is either they agree to flip a coin and flip a coin. They don't both agree to flip a coin, then they have to do a match race.
Run off.
Well, these are, sprinters especially. Talk about squirrely, high-strung athletes. You want one of these to pull a hammy?
Yeah.
If they're in the 200? I mean, it's just sort of like...
So what'd they do?
Well, they're going to wait until after the 200, and I have a feeling what's going to happen is if Allyson Felix gets in the 200, then she'll let her training partner go in the 100,
right.
and they can always flip-flop the names when they get there. You know, they can kind of juggle stuff around. So, I mean, everybody wants to go to the Olympics, and they work 4 years for it. So, but I think the idea is if Allison somehow, like, false starts or, like, blows up in the 200, well, then she definitely wants to run the 100 because she wants to get in, and she's got one of the best times in the world this year among the women. So we'll see what happens. But, you know, breaking tiebreakers has to be you got to play.
Yeah.
You don't go points. Who thought that up? Like, well, we're going to do we're going to keep track of points per dart for a tiebreaker.
No, I don't know.
Who on earth?
I don't know if that. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be the same way for this session as opposed to last one, because last one they were just getting everything started. It was the first time, so I don't know.
Think about that. No. Think about a football game that's tied in overtime. Okay, well, whoever had the most yards on offense wins.
Right.
Well, what is that? Basketball game's tied. Well, whoever had the most dunks wins.
Whoever took the least amount of shots.
Oh, we're not going to play extra innings. Instead, well, you know, whatever team had the highest batting average wins the game. Who on earth would agree to that?
Well, none of us agreed to it. It was just the rules.
Well, somebody wrote the rules. They didn't like magically come down from Mount Olympus on tablets and.
I don't know if there was a committee where they all agreed on it.
Well, here's the thing. You got to start ripping people when they don't treat darts like a sport. If you're not going to treat it like a sport, then don't try to run it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I do know what you're saying.
It's a sport, and you need people running things that understand it's a sport. If they think it's beer pong, then get rid of them.
Which actually might be a sport now.
The 4th of July is coming. I thought the competitive eating was bad enough.
Right.
You got an obesity problem in America, and here we are watching some guy scarfing down hot dogs.
Yeah.
Let's see how many you can eat in a minute.
45,
What
whatever.
an embarrassment. And they don't even spill it on their shirts.
No.
I mean, it's just this ridiculous
Well, now they have competitive
mess.
eating for everything. I mean, it's amazing and kind of gross.
Yeah, I don't know. But this whole idea of like using stats as a tiebreaker, I swear you gotta stamp this stuff out before it spreads. It's just like a bad virus. Yeah, please.
I hear you.
Killing me. That is about as asinine an idea as I've heard in a while. I got to tell you, I was kind of shocked by that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, if you want to be able to track your progress and you want to keep stats throughout the season and kind of compare how you were at the beginning toward how you were at the end to see if you made some sort of improvement, I'll buy that. That makes sense. If you're using it for a tiebreaker, then I have to hire somebody to stab you in the heart with a pencil. That was a joke, by the way. Don't call the police.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to a break. I'm so aggravated.
Tomorrow he'll be stabbed with a pencil.
We'll be back in 1 minute.
Hey, Sarah.
Oh my gosh, he's so cute.
Been doing like I taught you. Love the new tattoo, Sarah.
Dude, that's Sarah. The girl in the pink shirt. That's the girl I was telling you about.
Theater 2 on your left. Hey, Sarah. What color underwear today?
Hey, Sarah. So when are you going to post something new?
Anything you post online, anyone can see. So think before you post.
Are you a gravelly-voiced, chain-smoking young poet with a raconteur bent? Do you find yourself passing out and or waking up in seedy bars that some might describe as toilets? Do you find the mainstream American public has yet to recognize your musical genius? If so, you may be a child of Tom Waits. Now, if you think you are a child of Tom Waits, please write to us at the VH1 Archives, 1515 Broadway, 21st floor, New York, New York, 10036. Please remember to lick your own stamps so.
Hi, this is Judy Seneve talking to you from Langton, Ontario, Canada on Dart Talk.
Okay, and we're back for the second half of the show, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor with the latest and greatest traveling dart shop anywhere. And he, I believe, will be at Little River this weekend in Michigan. I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, I sometimes don't even look at flyers. You know, for tournaments I'm going to go to, I'm just going to go. But I was kind of surprised there's only one singles. And so when Jill's like, well, there's only one singles, and I'm like, well, why would they do that to the women? And then I looked, and there's only one singles for the men, and I'm like,
everybody.
What is this all about? So I don't know. We'll have to see.
So you're going up there, and there's a total of 3 matches you're playing?
Well, no. There's men's doubles. There's a couple men's doubles, a couple mixed doubles, and 1 singles.
1 singles.
Which is kind of, I'm thinking, opposite of how things should be. There should be more singles, not less. But we'll see. We'll see what the turnout is like. There's a question in the chat room. Sharon wants to know how long the round robin took. Each round we had 7 people, and we had 3 boards. So we had a match going every round because the 7th person had a bye. And I want to say every round took, some probably took a half hour. There were a couple of slow matches. But we started about 1:30, 1:45, and I'm pretty sure we were done around 5:30. So that's about three some hours.
I thought you said 6:30.
We were done with the final by 6:30,
Okay.
but there was a long delay before that, and the final was only 4 legs.
Right.
So I mean,
and that wasn't part of the round robin anyway.
That wasn't part of the round robin. I shudder to think what would have happened if we were on 1 or 2 boards. I mean, it would have taken 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah,
and we only had to play 6 matches. But we did play 5 legs in each match, so that's how long that was. And the level of play wasn't actually that bad. There were a couple of matches where guys were taking, like maybe 27, 30 darts, the majority of legs.
Right.
But, mine were quick.
You did your best to get it ended as quick as possible?
Jill asked me how I threw.
Did you have chalkers?
No.
Oh, so that didn't help either.
Well, one match... The guy with the bye almost always chalked. So one match had a chalker, but then the other 2 didn't. But I would say for the first 15 legs, if I could throw the way I threw the first 15 legs all the time, I'd have a permanent smile on my face.
Right.
I really liked the way I played. I liked the way I threw. I mean, I had to change some stuff. One of my shafts I found out was bent. One of my aluminum shafts, and I don't have spares. So I had to change shafts, and the only ones I had were a little bit longer, and then I had to go to bigger flights. So every now and then I would, smack myself with the flight. So I had to actually make a change and bring the dart, instead of bringing it down, right about dead below my eye, I had to bring it down around the corner of my eye, which I don't like doing. But worked out all right.
But it worked out.
Yeah. So sometimes you just got to adjust.
Right.
Let's talk about mental.
Because
we're going to have this bizarre composite picture. You're going to have the lower body of Darren Young and the upper body of Paul Lim. And whose head are we going to have on
All right.
Who would even want their head on top of that picture? I don't know. I take no
They don't have a
responsibility
choice.
for that.
It's going up there anyway.
That's right.
Yeah, so
they don't like it, they can get their own show. I have no sympathy for him. But I wrote down a bunch of criteria and a bunch of names that we can talk about. When we're talking about the mental game, what are we really talking about?
Focus.
Right. I would have to say that ultimately...
Concentration?
Yeah. Ultimately, focus and concentration are job one, and anybody with a good mental game is going to have a high degree of focus and concentration. Right. So you notice I wrote down to focus.
Yeah, why do you have Ivan Lendl?
I wrote down Ivan Lendl.
Ex-tennis player.
Because, we try to talk about darts in a way that people that don't play a lot of darts can relate to. So I'm constantly, I know I do a lot of golf analogies. So I'm like, well, let's get off the golf analogy. So
we're going to tennis.
We're going to tennis, and we're going to take the long way around the barn. So everybody, kick back. Everybody put their feet up for it. It's going to take a couple of minutes before you realize why Steve wrote down Ivan Lendl. It's a standard size, Midwestern red with the, red pouch thing on the side. You see, driving around the middle of Ohio. Okay, Ivan Lendl. It took a while for him to get to the top, if you remember.
Right.
There was Borg and McEnroe, and then it was Lendl that supplanted McEnroe as number 1. And at the time, I played a lot of tennis. I actually had a Jack Kramer racket, so I tried to be a right-handed John McEnroe. And I did serve and volley on slow courts, fast courts, whatever, and got a kick out of it till I broke the Kramer. Anyway, one of the
story
best
for a different day.
One of the best pieces of sports equipment ever made was a Wilson Jack Kramer racket. Those things were awesome. Anyway, so I was into tennis.
Right.
And so I watched Lendl for about 18 months try to take over the #1 spot. And he had a very there are things that tennis players do that I've never seen other athletes do, but it has to do with how you get your focus. So, imagine to yourself a baseball hitter.
Right.
Right? First pitch, ball, strike, whatever. He steps onto the batter's box, and what does he do?
He tightens his batting gloves.
Well, that's what some guys do, which is a kind of a nervous ritual that I don't think does much good except make you feel comfortable.
It's a routine.
But if you look at really good hitters, like what they'll do is they will look at the trademark on their bat, and you'll see them. They'll be staring at their bat. There's a reason you do that. And I didn't really know when I played baseball when I was younger. I used to do it, and I just kind of did it because I saw somebody do it, like Dave Kingman or something. I'm like, oh, I guess you're supposed to stare at your bat.
That's where they want to hit the ball.
No. What you're doing is you're refocusing your eyesight. And this is the thing that Ivan Lendl used to do that used to totally freak me out. Because if he wasn't seeing the serves, because his biggest problem was returning serve when he was first coming up. What he would do, literally, and I this is not a joke, what he would do is he would pluck one of his eyelashes out. Because
really?
it would like kind of make his eyes go boink.
Yeah.
And get him, get his pupils dilated. If you look at Phil Taylor and look at tape from Taylor a couple of years ago, Phil Taylor was deliberately widening his eyes as he let go of the dart. The idea is because you're talking hand-eye coordination, you're trying to control your eyesight, right? So what a baseball hitter will do is, your eyes are focused like kind of way out there, and then they follow in the ball. So your eyes have to change focus on the fly until the ball's like kind of right in front of you. So when you hold the bat out like this and look at the trademark, your eyes are getting focused at about the same distance that the bat will be when you actually swing and hit. That's why they do it. So now I thought about this a while ago. I thought about this like maybe 3 weeks ago.
So couldn't Lendl have just stared at his racket instead of plucking his eyelashes
Well, that's
out?
what some guys do. Some guys they'll read like the little trademark on their racket, whatever. The whole plucking the eyelash thing kind of creeped me out, to be honest with you, and I kind of stopped playing tennis around that. Not because of that, just sort of, I found other things to do.
Because you broke your racket.
So I'm messing around in a bar that is okay to throw but isn't well lit, and I'm not really seeing the board that great. And
so you plucked your eyelid?
No, what I did was I let my eyes focus on the back of my dart where the flights were. So I'm like literally staring at the back of my flight and then staring at the target. And I did that for about 15 straight minutes. I just kept doing it, and it's really slowed me down. I mean, it's really like, you can't just sort of fire when you're doing that.
Right.
And I literally could not miss.
So now do you do it all the time?
Well, it isn't automatic, but I found myself doing it on Sunday when I thought of it.
Right. Or you're doing it when, if you could see the board fine, you don't have the thought process of doing it.
Well, here's what I would do is, I would start a leg, and if I didn't start out with a ton or better, I would do it.
Okay.
And I'd be like, oh, what am I doing here? It worked out pretty good. I'm not saying that everybody should do this, but what I'm saying is
something.
Everybody needs to find something that is going to help them sharpen their focus if they feel that they're losing it.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, especially some of these longer matches, I've had people, come up to me and say, well, they don't really like to play 5-0 because it's boring. And I'm like, well, what do you mean it's boring? And they're like, well, all you do is throw at the triple 20 and you start spacing out. I'm like, okay, well, if you don't have a long enough attention span to play a leg of 5-0, how is cricket helping you? But cricket, you're always throwing at different numbers, so it's the same idea as like, changing your eye level all the time. So people like cricket because you get to look and throw at something else.
Yeah.
Okay. If that does it for you, then
and they don't have to subtract.
Well, you still have to do a lot of calculations in
Right.
cricket. I think
No, I
that's generally misunderstood. That for some reason, you know, like soft hitters do math in their heads all the time. They're just calculating like, you know, the number of triples they need to stay ahead and stuff like that. But you do have to kind of like look at his total, look at mine, subtract, see what the difference is, and then see what you need to add to it. And you know, they all do that. I mean, they're all capable of playing 5-0. I just think they don't think it's worth the trouble.
Right.
So, and it, if you do a cost-benefit analysis, like I entered the Darts Live Asia, right? Thank you, Bill, by the way. It's, I think it was $300 to get in, and it includes your hotel room. It includes all your entry fees.
Okay.
Okay. But first place is $12,000.
Right.
Okay. Compare that to another tournament where it's about $300 for your hotel and your entry fee, but the payout's 1/3 of that, or 1/2 of it, or you know, whatever it may be. As a player, you know, when you're shopping for bargains, it's like, you know, what are these tournaments paying and what is it going to cost me? And we have to get the payouts on these tournaments up somehow. That's going to bring more people.
Sure.
You know, for all these, you know, people that are scrambling around trying to figure out how to generate more revenue for their tournaments, if you build it, they will come. If you get some sponsorship and, you know, add money to the prize pool, you'll get more people coming to play. Stands to reason,
Yeah.
right?
All right.
Are we on the 45?
Somewhere,
Okay.
somewhere a rubber band on their wrist and snap it in between turns.
Well, you know, I've
Now,
heard
do
of
they-
that. It
do
sounds
they
like
do
a
it on
bad
their-
phone
do
call
they wear
that
it on their
costs you
throwing
90
arm?
cents a minute, but
Do they wear it on their throwing arm, or do they wear it on the opposite wrist?
to snap the rubber band.
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen anybody do it, but it's the same idea of plucking the eyebrow. It's kind of like a cold slap in the face, or some water, you know, in your face to wake up, something to get you mentally alert and energized.
Right.
I've never seen anybody snap the rubber band, but it makes sense to me. You know, that you would do something like that. And we talked a show ago, like last year, about you do this meditation thing where you put your finger in your palm like this, and you think about a happy place for half an hour a day. And then after about a month, if you're under stress at a tournament, you just do this, and the stress goes away because your mind is trained that contact means peace. And you know, it's kind of a weird way to be psyching yourself up,
Right.
but whatever, you know, hopefully, I would say whatever works, but you know, let's not get too crazy with some of this stuff. Okay, one more commercial, just take a minute, and then we'll be back for the last quarter.
Why can't guys just ask us out? They have to pretend like it's a coincidence that we both want to see a movie, or say, let's just go hang out. Of course I'm going to say yes to that. I want to go hang out with a friend, but it gets weird when that friend tries to kiss me. I don't need one more guy in my life trying to have sex with me.
Please, I love it how girls act like they don't know the code, like they don't know what hang out means. You agree to go to the movies with me, I show up bearing flowers, I pay for the movie, and the second I go in for a kiss, it's all, oh, we're just friends, right? Yeah, I asked you out because I need one more girl in my life who won't have sex with me.
Grow some balls.
Stupid.
When you buy something you don't need just because it's on sale, you're not actually saving money. Think about it.
All right.
Hey, you guys. How you doing? Jeff Smith. I'm from St. John, New Brunswick, and you are listening to Dare Talk.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Jeff.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Actually, he was interrupting you.
Yeah, wow. I like Jeff. We have a little Canadian theme going with all the voices because, you know, did we do the results
we have
from
not
Canada?
done the results yet.
Where does the time go? Okay, let's do the results
Wanna
from
do the
the Canadian Championship, which was held last week. That's probably page 2 there, Bubba. So let's start
Yes,
with
it
page
is.
1.
You wanna go with page 1?
Okay, just go right ahead.
All right. Canadians, the Canadian Championship results. The Canadian Open men's singles went to Terry Hayhurst. The Canadian Open women's singles went to Kim Whaley Hills. Did I pronounce that right?
I think so.
All right. Canada's America's Cup team. Robin Curry from Ontario, Cindy Party from Alberta, Troy Hanlon from Newfoundland and Labrador.
Newfoundland.
I knew that actually. I just that's how. Chris Steiger from Nova Scotia. The ladies alternate, Roxanne Van Tassel from British Columbia. Men's alternate, Steve Vautour from New Brunswick. All right, so this is Canada Cup results.
The Canada Cup results, right. So these are the provincial teams.
Right.
Right.
All right. We'll start
Let's do
from
the top
bottom.
4.
All right. 4th was Ontario. 3rd is Nova Scotia. 2nd is Newfoundland and Labrador. And 1st is Alberta.
Alberta, I think, had a pretty good thing because, as you'll see later, Norman Cindy won that one. I'm going to have to talk to Dan Olson and maybe Chris White and some of these people that were telling me how Ontario was like, the darts capital of Canada and all the good players are from Ontario, because I don't see Ontario winning this thing. Although maybe it's because they split it in half, because I see there's like a Northern Ontario. So I don't know. We'll have to get somebody from Ontario to explain things to me.
Yeah, there's a Northern Ontario and an Ontario.
Yeah, I don't get that. But all right. So the Nodor Cup results.
Nodor Cup results, ladies. Joint bronze goes to Quebec and Nova Scotia. Ontario is a silver, and Newfoundland and Labrador is gold. For the men, joint bronze, Alberta and Newfoundland and Labrador. Nova Scotia silver, and Manitoba takes gold.
Manitoba, all right.
Mixed doubles results. 2nd place goes to Janelle Legg and...
Oh, you got a joint 3rd there.
I do.
Yeah.
All right. Joint 3rd, sorry. Denise Ward and Edward Capawan.
Okay, yes. 2nd place to Janelle Legge and Todd Hitchcock from Newfoundland and Labrador. The winners were Cindy Party and Ken McNeil from Alberta. There's a typo there.
Okay. All right.
Oh, well, yeah, joint 3rd was also Jenny Mercier and Sebastian Gagnon from Quebec. Sorry about that.
All right. Men's doubles, Troy Hanlon and Brett Colombe, Newfoundland and Labrador. Women's doubles, Ivy Weishlow and Cindy Party from Alberta. Men's singles national championship. Joint 3rd, Bruce Davey from Ontario, Gordon Mills, also from Ontario. 2nd place goes to Wayne Pike, Newfoundland and Labrador. And 1st place goes to Norm Tremblay from Alberta. And then the women's singles national championship, joint 3rd, Kristen Mamerstieg, Ontario, Robin Currier, Ontario. Patricia Farrell gets 2nd, Newfoundland and Labrador. And Cindy Party wins. She's from Alberta.
Yeah, Cindy, I guess, won the doubles and the singles and the mixed doubles. Cindy had a great weekend. We're going to have to get her on the show. She's kind of shy. I'll talk to her. I'm going to go to Stamford in August, the 2nd week of August. So we'll get up with. I've been trying to get Terry and Cindy on this show for a long time, and our schedules just really never work out.
Right.
Even when we were, because when we were doing it on Thursday mornings, they couldn't do it, and then Wednesdays were bad, and then we went to Tuesdays, and we haven't had a guest on. Just FYI, guys, we're going to start with the interviews again in 2 weeks. Just a reminder, we won't be doing the show next week, but we'll start doing the interviews again the week after.
All right. So after Focus.
Right. After Focus, you have to... Part of the mental game is knowledge and experience. And I think anybody would agree that when you play some of these guys that have been around a long time, it gives them, until your game has reached a certain level, it gives them a tremendous advantage. If you ever, like one of the things I like to do at tournaments to warm up is I'll play 121 with somebody. And... there's a couple of people that throw at stuff that makes complete sense to me that I never would have dreamed of in a million years if
in order to...
Well, like on 76.
Yeah.
On 76, I've always shot at the 20, and then all of a sudden, Dieter Schutz is like, hey, well, the 16 works really good on this. See, if you hit this, you hit that, la-di-da-di-da. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. Steve Brown on 67 always goes for the 999 to leave 40. Okay, well, that makes sense. Pretty much whatever you hit there is going to be helpful. If you don't hit the 999,
Oh, yes.
Because I've never really liked
Right.
the idea of going for the 17 there, because I don't like leaving myself
Right.
on 50 with 2 darts, because I don't want to make a decision.
Yeah.
Because I know the math. I know you shouldn't go for the double bull on your second dart, but gosh, that saved me from myself.
Right.
Ooh, I'm feeling it. Please. Let's not be doing any of that stuff. So I try not to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So 67 is one of those numbers that for some reason, some numbers that come up, like 65. I've been going bull tops on 65
Right.
for years.
Most people do.
Right. Well, I was playing 121 with Bill Davis. He leaves himself on 65, and he goes for the 1111. And I just stared at him, and I stared at the board, and it took me about 45 seconds to work it out, and I'm like, that's brilliant. Because if you single it, you're on 54, and I love 54 because I don't go fat 14, although you could because it's right next to the 11. I like to, throw 2 at the double 18, right? Just, the same way you do 60.
Right.
You just put one low and then drop one right
yeah.
on top. I like doing that on 18. So things like that, like I was playing 131 or 121 with Larry Butler. He's on 134 going for 17s, and I'm like, well, all right, let me calculate that one out. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
If you throw 2 fat ones and a trip 20, you're on 40. So it becomes kind of a matter of like, if there's certain outs that you want to set up and there's a way to get to them, by all means do it that way. But it takes, and this is just stuff I picked up, playing, just practicing, before an event actually begins. You just grab somebody, you're sharing a board. Hey, you want to play this?
Yeah.
You want to play 170? Whatever. And when you see some of these guys that have been around a long time, who've had time to, work out the different combinations and which one works best for them, you can't discount that.
Right.
As being part of the mental game. If you're playing 501
There's more
and you're
to it
uncertain,
than just the list that you see of your outs.
Well, you have to have have somewhere to start with.
Right.
You can't be up there, counting on your fingers and toes if you're on 79. I mean, you need. And I'll give you a perfect example. I used to practice with a guy in Chicago, and we would play 121. He's the guy that taught me the game, and I'm still learning my numbers. Every time I was on 79, I went for the trip 13. Right. I played my first PDC event, and I'm playing Colin Monk, and I have 79 to win the set on my throw. And I go with the trip 13, miss it, and then throw fat 16, miss it, go for the bull, miss the bull. I'm walking back, and the guy is staring at me with his jaw on the floor, like I had just, I don't know.
Kicked his dog.
Or, split my pants or something. I mean, he's just looking at me like I'm a complete moron, right? So I lose the match, I shake hands, and I go to talk to this guy, and I'm like, he was looking at me so weird on that 79, and the guy's like, that's because you went for the 13. You don't go for the 13. You go for the 19, because if you single it, you're on
left.
fat tops.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you've been practicing for 5 months? You never told me that?
You just
Thanks.
watched me do it.
Now you tell me? Thanks a lot. But it's like the process. You have to learn how to play 501, and sometimes, guys make it painful. Not on the show. On the show, we'll help you.
Yeah.
But I pulled a prank like that on a guy once, where he asked me what to do, and I was didn't really, it actually was like the North Side, South Side Challenge.
Oh, really?
And it's a guy that I like, but he's always asking me his out. So I gave him the wrong one. He shot it wrong. And then I told him why he shouldn't do it that way. But I guarantee you, to this day, he remembers it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, at some point you gotta put some effort into it, right? If you're gonna have somebody just telling you what to do and you don't understand the underlying logic, you'll never be able to figure it out for yourself.
Right. I agree with that.
So the knowledge and experience is something that can't be discounted, when you're talking about a mental game. So when we talk about who's got the best mental game, they're going to have this mastery of the numbers.
Right.
So we're going to discount pretty much every darter under 30.
Yeah.
Right? Because they haven't been playing that long. Right? Or maybe 35 for that matter. Because, if I go down the list of all these guys, they've all been playing 20 years. And I'll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I wrote down 8 names here.
That could top the list.
I'm crossing one out right now.
Okay.
All right, let's put down... here's a good example. Like Dave Walsh is a Boston guy who beat me once at I think Port City a few years ago. Had a fantastic demeanor, very relaxed. He doesn't play as often as he used to, but he's universally respected, and he's the kind of guy nobody wants to play because, if he shows up and really plays his game, he's capable of beating anybody. Right? But I was really, impressed with his attitude toward the game, whereas win or lose, he's got good perspective. And that was one of the things about the mental game that I don't want to hit it too hard, but the top players all have an emotional maturity about them. That there are no undefeated players.
Right.
Everybody loses, and how you deal with losses, I think, is a pretty good indication of where you are mentally. Guys that are so. Well,
I think that
I don't
also
want to get
comes.
myself in
That
too much
also
trouble
comes
here,
with
but-
experience. I mean,
Well, yeah,
the
but-
more experience you have,
Yeah.
most people eventually, still don't act the same way they did in the beginning when they lost.
Well, look, I mean, what's the saying about sport is that sports don't teach character; they reveal it.
Right.
Right. They also reveal kind of where somebody is mentally.
Yeah.
And everybody takes losses hard, and I do. I mean, I take losses hard, but some people take it a little bit over the top where I'm starting to think that, where they are mentally in the game is probably not ideal. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to be ripping on anybody in like that, but I did write down a bunch of names of people that seem to me to have a demeanor that reflects, kind of a perspective of the game that seems to be right. They have the knowledge and the experience, and then they also, are capable of having the kind of focus it takes to win event after event. I'm not talking about, people that won once somewhere. I'm thinking now if I start reading the names, I'm going to irritate every name that I don't mention.
That's not on the list.
And we're up against the hour. Should we, table this for...
Well, no. I mean, do you really... can't we just say who our head is?
No.
No?
No, I'm not going to just say it without explanation. I'm going to get killed on
Oh,
this.
okay.
Everybody... Do you know what I got on the
right.
stroke stuff?
Well, that's fine.
When I start saying Mr. X is the example of of the kind of mental game you want to have, everybody who isn't Mr. X is going to be blaming me, right? I mean,
Maybe.
this is something that should have come out of committee, right?
But there's, even if you go through all those names, that doesn't mean they're going to agree with who you pick as the one.
They're not going to agree anyway.
Exactly.
That isn't the point.
So
the
that's
point
just
is I'm
say-
trying to save myself some grief.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Well, no. The idea, though, is to talk about what it is that makes up, right, the great mental game, and then it's one of those things who's the greatest quarterback of all
Right.
time? I don't
Everybody's
know.
got an
Johnny
opinion.
Unitas, Bobby Lane, Sid Luckman. You've seen Sid Luckman play,
Right.
Right. Bronco Nagurski would have been the best if they just let him play quarterback. I mean, I don't want to get into this thing where it's oh, well, you didn't mention this guy and you didn't mention that guy. I mean, it's give me a break.
All right, so
Yeah.
we'll let everybody.
So
We'll
I'm
let everybody
saying,
think
should
about
we
it for 2
let
weeks.
everybody think about
Yeah.
it now that they know what my criteria is?
They can
And
they can mull it over for 2 weeks.
right, and the other things, the one other thing that we haven't mentioned, I put under intangibles, because the guy that I'm thinking of with the best metal game also has thrown more clutch darts than anybody that I've ever seen, and I've been playing. I'm going on 11 years, and being able to hit a dart in the clutch is not common.
As easy as you think.
Plenty of people miss.
Yeah.
Plenty of people miss under pressure. But there are guys that miss less. And this one guy that I'm thinking of in particular, when it comes to the mental part of the game, I think has a better handle on it than anyone else that plays in America.
Right.
I can't talk about, Canada, because Norm Tremblay, or I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Ken McNeil play. I don't think I've ever really seen Norm play. I've seen Jerry Convery play, but he doesn't, so I can't talk about the Canadians, as much as I'd like to. So we're going to stick to Americans, because
Okay.
I have seen at least once, every good American. But the one guy that, and you can all kind of guess who I'm thinking of maybe, there's one guy, though, that I think if you want to model your mental game after somebody, this is the place to start. So we'll keep that secret till our next show.
All right. What's your tournament schedule like, real quick?
Well, I'm going to go to Little River.
Right, this weekend.
And then I don't know what I'm going to do the next weekend. I'm tempted to go to this, the one in Chattanooga, but then there's also something in Missouri. So I may take that week off. But the PDC's coming up. The PDC is the weekend of the July 22nd in Chicago.
Right.
That's the one, that's the big... Well,
the big deal.
It's not the Super Bowl because there's 3 of them, but
yeah.
I mean that's the biggest deal in Steel Tip of the year because it's going to give somebody a crack to go to the World Championships. Yeah. And then the week after that is Nashville. So July's busy. We had our little lull for June, but starting last weekend,
starts all up again.
Right. So yeah, I'm going to be busy.
Good. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for listening and participating in the chat room and whatnot. If you think you know who I'm thinking of for the mental game, you can email darttalk@gmail.com, and I will tell you the error of your ways.
Right.
Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and you'll know we had some upload problems last week. Took a couple of days to get the show up there, so hopefully that won't be an issue tonight. Comcast was out here fixing stuff. So,
okay.
And feel free to drop us a line. Let us know if there's what mistakes we made this week.
Of course.
Just a reminder, we're brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor, and we will Dart Talk to you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So have a nice vacation.
All right,
there,
you too.
Mystery Mark, and we'll catch everybody in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening.